All right, so this video is a little bit more on the DevOps side of things. So one of the most common things that you might have to do with infrastructure as code is some kind of templating. And there are places where you want to use the built-in features of the IAC tool to do that templating. And then there are places where you want to do basic file replacements or basic value replacements and stitch together those templates as you go. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that with Python, and then we're going to compare what that would look like in maybe a lower level language like C++. So I'm going to create a template.yaml, and there's nothing special about this. I went and asked ChatGPT for some fake CloudFormation, which, if you don't know, is what AWS uses by default for infrastructure provisioning. And then I came in here and I just added a block here for AMI with a couple of curly braces. So what we're going to be doing is adding our own swap in for this AMI value. So that's the goal. All right. And then at the bottom here, I'm also going to add a tag called replace me. We'll use that a little bit later. So we've got our template. I'm going to create a main.py. Simple enough. And we will go ahead and declare, and this is going to be pretty simple. We'll declare an AMI variable with a fake AMI name, and AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. We're going to declare our template. So template equals open and close parentheses with open template.yaml as template file. Template equals template file.read. So at this point, we have our template. So if I just run this as is, I'm going to get the template. It has the AMI out there and not swapped yet. And then doing this kind of templating in Python is really, really simple. All you have to do is template equals template dot replace, and we're going to do a replace for AMI and AMI. And then we can do with open output.yaml, right, as output file, output file.write, template. All right, we'll run that. And now we have our output file with our newly swapped AMI. So why did we do the replace me? Well, let's talk about that. So what we did was we just took a static template, and we said that for that static template, we were going to fill in a value. But what if you wanted to have X number of resources and build that up a little bit more dynamically? So here we could do new file, ec2 template.yaml, and from ec2 template, we're going to throw this in, and we're going to say my ec2 instance, and we'll call this instance number. And we'll go ahead and keep our AMI swap. We'll do some spacing there just so that's consistent. And then that looks good. There's my VS Code trying to auto format. So let me save without formatting. All right, and then I'm gonna bring my replace me up here. Not an output. I don't want it in output. I want it in template. So now I have a replace me up here. So now we're talking about whole blocks. So what I can do here, so I'm going to rename this to base template. We'll call that, and then we'll also say EC2 template, and we'll go ahead and fill that in with the same code. So that's going to be EC2 template.yaml as template file, and then we'll do EC2 template.read. All right, and then what we're going to do here, so what we want to do conceptually is we want to loop through, X number of times, and we want to replace the replace me with the new values with the values filled in with the appropriate value in there for AMI and the appropriate, instance number, so that we can have, X number of instances in our template file. So what we probably want to do, let's think about how to approach this. We can just comment that out for now. So we've got our base template. We could say let's do instance counts equals 3. So we're going to say for IC in range instance count, we're going to say base template equals base template dot replace, and then we'll do replace me, or actually we'll need to play with this just a little bit more. So we'll do template equals server. We'll do server equals EC2 template, and then server equals, and something we can do here that'll help us quite a bit is if we go into our EC2 template, and we're actually going to add that same replace me in here. And of course, it's going to, there we go, save without formatting. My editor's trying to be a little bit too helpful there. So now we have a template.yaml that has a replace me in it, and we have a, template that we're going to insert that also has a replace me. So what we should be able to do is swap this template in many times and replace the value each time. And it should keep the replace me and be able to continue to update the file. So we can say server equals server dot replace. So we want to go ahead and do our AMI replacement, and server equals server dot replace. Let me actually put in AMI, and then we'll do instance number is equal to IC, because that's our iterator variable, so it should swap out that instance number. And then the base template will be base template equals base template dot replace, and then we'll do replace me with server, and then we'll go ahead and say output file base template. All right, let's see if this works. Hey, must be string, not int. Okay, we will go ahead and cast that IC to a string. All right, that time our file ran, and it did not quite do. Here, don't save. Hey, it did exactly what we wanted it to. It messed up the formatting just a little bit. Let's see where that happened. So it looks like we got a little bit of too tabbed over there for our EC2 instance. And I think what happened there is because it did a replace on, let's take a look. So replace me is tabbed in, and since we replaced the replace me without the space, I think that is what caused our problem. So one, we want to make sure the spacing here and the spacing here lines up, and it does. And then in our replace, we are actually going to include the spacing in our replace me. You could do this in more elegant ways, but this should work. All right, we ran it. And let's go look at our output.yaml. And now we have a valid YAML with my EC2 instance 0, 1, and 2, all with the appropriate AMI selected. So, what are the benefits of doing it this way? Obviously, you have a static template you can use and manipulate. You have a lot of control over how you build these files up. And this method can be used for any kind of templating, any kind of infrastructure as code creation. It makes it very, very easy to sort of use the same method across all of your different, IAC capabilities. And it's, again, nothing we did here was very complex, but in just a few minutes, we now have a basic dynamic CloudFormation generator. So just for fun, not something that we would do in the real world, let's go do something very similar in C++. And if you're not set up for C++, I completely understand if this is where you get off the bus, but we're going to just make a new project here. I will call it templating, and I'm just going to drag over my VS Code config. And we'll do something, yes, I trust the authors because the author is me. We're going to go ahead and do a template.yaml, and I'm going to copy the one I started with. And again, nothing special about this template. I went to ChatGPT and asked it to generate me some fake CloudFormation, and it happily obliged. So we're going to do main.cpp. And this is a fun exercise just to kind of see some of what Python is doing for you and how easy it makes it. So we're actually only going to cover the initial demo, just the single file replace or the single variable replace that we were doing in Python. So we're going to do iostream, include fstream, include vector, include string. All right, we'll do an int main. Let's see, processing template file. All right, we will go ahead and do an ifstream for template file. We're going to declare a vector of strings for template var. That's going to hold our template. We'll do template file dot open template.yaml. All right, and we'll do if template file dot is open std string line, while std get line, template file, line. And since this is a vector, we're going to use template var dot pushback line, template file dot close. All right, so at this point, we have loaded the template file. I'll point out, in Python, this was base template equals template file dot read. That is the equivalent of what we just did here with these this little block of code. So now we're going to add template variable. Well, gotta use my C++ comments, not my Python comments. So we're going to do a standard string AMI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do a string for replace text, just to make this generic. Let me not forget my semicolons there. And then we'll do output file stream output file, output file dot open, output dot YAML. All right, and I don't really want to wrap it nest too deep, so we're going to go ahead and do our test here. If not, output file dot is open, then unable to open file. Okay, and then we're going to get to the actual replace section. So for std string line template var. So the first thing we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and say output file line and do a new line. I know I'm not doing any replacement yet. We'll get there. All right. We're just going to see if this writes a file successfully. And it should, yep. So the output YAML is exactly the same as the input YAML. So all we did here is we took one file, opened it, read it into a vector, wrote it out into an output file. So let's go ahead and do our replace. So we're going to say if line.find replace text is not equal to std string and pause. So that's the end of the string. Then we're going to do std cout line, replacing text in just to give us some output. We'll grab the start position. So start pause equals line.find replace text. And someone better at C++ might have a cleaner way to do this. This is how I did it. End pause equals line.find, and we're going to do replace text -1. So what it wants is it wants the starting and ending position of what we're going to replace. So we're finding replace text, so we're getting the start position. We're finding the end of replace text, so we're getting the end position. And then we'll do line.replace, start pause, end pause, and AMI, which again is our new AMI up here. And then let's just go ahead and run it. Replacing text in image ID AMI. And if we go look at our output YAML, we now have a successful AMI replacement in our template. So from a practical perspective, I would always use the Python implementation of this. This is obviously much simpler. We wrote less code and did a lot more with it. We actually did a looping template builder over here in 25 lines of code, and in that same 53 lines of code, and in 53 lines of code over here, we did one value replacement. But I thought this was both an interesting comparison between the two languages, but then also something that you might be able to go out and use on the Python side in your own work. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this kind of content in the future. And with that, I'll say until next time.